Undoubtedly, the rose holds the title of the Queen of Flowers. Growing roses is not as daunting as it may seem. With the right approach, anyone can cultivate these majestic blooms just like any other plant. By adhering to some straightforward tips and tricks, you can ensure your rose bushes thrive and flourish. Here are 10 invaluable care tips for nurturing your rose plants, ensuring they bloom magnificently throughout the year. 2 bonus tips and hacks are shown in the end. At number 10. Bare root roses, or container roses. You can purchase roses that are already potted in soil that's the container roses, or as dormant bare root plants. If you are a beginner, purchasing container rose bush is the best option, because they are easy to plant and they establish quickly. If you are planting bare root roses, which are commonly sold online, they need to have their roots soaked overnight in water before planting them in the soil, and the roots must be kept always moist for the first few weeks after planting. At number 9. Repotting a newly bought rose plant. The most common mistake most of us do is immediately repot a newly purchased plant. Never do this. Keep the newly bought container in partial shade or indirect sunlight for at least 3 to 4 days for it to settle down, and then shift to full sunlight or consider repotting in a new container and new potting mix of your choice. Do not remove the entire mother soil from the plant, especially beginners. Just tease the roots around and then place in a new potting mix. After repotting, water it thoroughly and keep it in shade for the first few days, to prevent repotting or the transplant shock which causes the plant to wilt. At number 8. Drainage and pot selection. No doubt, you need a well-draining soil for all plants. This applies even to rose plant. Make sure you have good drainage holes at the bottom that do not get clogged easily. Because you keep the containers in full sunlight, plastic containers are not recommended. Clay pots are the best, and next comes the cement containers. At number 7. Potting mix. Rose is a special plant and we expect a lot of flowers from it. So the nutrient requirement for this plant is high. As you all know, any plant requires phosphorus for great roots and potassium for healthy flowering and fruiting. Keep this in mind while you prepare your potting mix. Steamed bone meal or organic rock phosphate is the most important source of phosphorus and a slow-release fertilizer. 1 handful of it will be sufficient to produce flowering for the entire year. You should also make a proper potting mix with all ingredients, like decomposed cow dung, vermicompost, cocoa peat or peat moss and garden soil in proper proportions, to make a well-draining soil. At number 6. Sunlight and location. Rose plant needs at least 6 to 8 hours of full direct sunlight to produce flowers and to keep it healthy. You cannot expect flowering without sunlight. One more important point to remember here is its location. If possible, protect it from hot noon sunlight, like 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. sun, or if this is not possible, you can install a 50% green shade net to protect from noon sun, especially in hot summer. At number 5. Watering requirement. Roses need daily watering, and a well-draining soil is very important, and at the same time moisture around roots has to be maintained by adding stuff, like compost and cocoa peat. You can add a little extra compost like decomposed cow dung or some extra leaf compost into your potting mix. One important watering tip for roses to avoid fungus is, water early in the morning before sun starts. Watering in evening can keep it damp and encourage fungus. At number 4. Fertilizer. Rose plant requires regular feeding to increase flowering, both the number of flowers, and also to achieve big-sized roses. If you use chemical fertilizers, NPK, 20-20-20, and DAP crystals, that's diammonium phosphate, alternating every week, is sufficient to produce good flowering. But if you are a completely organic gardener, consider adding a handful of vermicompost or decomposed cow dung in each container every 15 days after raking or tilling the topsoil. Raking or tilling the soil is itself an important task to improve soil aeration and improve your plant's health. Then, you can also perform a foliar spray by mixing 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt in 1 liter of water once every 15 days for best results. At number 3. Pest control. This is the most important step. The only regular pesticide I recommend is neem oil spray weekly once. This prevents and cures a lot of diseases and pests on rose plants. 5 to 10 milliliters neem oil mixed in 1 liter of water with few drops of liquid soap or shampoo is the formula. There are 2 most common disease attacks on rose. One is the rose dieback disease and the second is the black spot rose disease. Both are caused by fungus. At number 2. Deadheading. This is another important task most of us are lazy to perform. Just pluck those dead and fading flowers from the plant. This will conserve the plant's energy to produce more new buds, rather than diverting the energy in seed formation. Performing deadheading as soon as the flowers starts to fade is beneficial, instead of waiting for the flower to dry completely. At number 1. Pruning or trimming rose plants. This is an important task most of us neglect. Do not hesitate, or be afraid to prune your rose plant. You are not gonna kill it. Pruning is an important gardening secret to healthy rose bush, because this encourages branching and makes your plant more bushy, as a result more number of flowers. Perform at least a basic pruning, what is called as soft pruning in early spring season once in a year. Now, 2 bonus tips. Firstly, about soil pH, rose loves slightly acidic soil. If you have a pH testing meter, you can check it by dipping into your soil. Rose loves a pH of 6.0 to 6.5. To acidify your soil, you can water it by mixing 10 grams of alum into 1 liter of water, once every 15 days or a month. This will certainly improve your plant's health and increase flowering because acidic soil is important for nutrient absorption. Secondly, you can add mustard cake tea, or even add used tea dust or tea waste into the soil once a week, to increase soil acidity from tannic acid in tea, which helps boost flowering. Please give a thumbs up, share the video, comment below with your feedback. Consider subscribing if you are new to the channel. Happy gardening!